Andrew Ravens here of ravensnewspost.com, bringing you the official UFC Fight Night 85 preview show. UFC Fight Night 85 takes place this Saturday night, March 19th, 2016. Main event features the big boys, Frank Mir, former UFC heavyweight champion, and top fighter Mark Hunt. I'm really looking forward to this fight, y'all. I really am. So it breaks down your prelims. You have 2 fights on UFC Fight Pass. Alan Patrick, Damian Brown, Chad LaPrise, Ross Pearson. And you have 4 fights on the FS1 prelims, headlined by Alan Jouban and Brendan O'Reilly. And then your main card will kick off at 10 p.m. Eastern on FS1 and features 6 bouts, and mostly middleweight. And then you got the big clash in the main event. This will be the final UFC event for quite some time, actually, about a month. They return with another Fight Night card that will air on actually a Sunday. So I hope you all enjoy not only this show, but the Fight Night card as well, because MMA is going to be very limited for a little bit, for a few weeks, about 3.5 weeks or so. And it should be interesting. So the main card kicks off with a women's strawweight bout, I believe. I think it's strawweight or bantamweight. Anyway, it's Bec Rawlings versus Seo Hee Ham. And Rawlings actually enters this fight on a 1-fight winning streak. She's 2-3 in her last 5 bouts, and she's coming off of a win over Lisa Ellis at UFC Fight Night 65 by submission. And then Hee Ham is on a 1-fight winning streak and is 4-1 in her last 5. And she's currently 1-1 while in the UFCs, but she actually just came off of a win over Courtney Casey at UFC Fight Night 79 by decision. And basically, Rawlings is a huge favorite in this fight, which kind of surprised me a little bit. She looked really good in her last performance, and I think that's what got people behind her. And Ham hasn't really been that impressive, but Rawlings is a big favorite. I got her by 3rd round TKO. In the next bout, you have James Huna and Steve Bosse. Huna is actually, this is a make-or-break kind of fight for him. He enters this fight on a 3-fight losing streak. He's 2-3 in his last 5, while Bosse is on a 1-fight losing streak, so not that impressive. However, he is 4-1 in his last 5 and is coming off a first-round TKO loss to Thiago Santos at UFC Fight Night 70. While Huna is coming off of a loss to Nate Marquardt, UFC Fight Night 43 by first-round submission. And I have my preview in front of me, and then I have the betting odds nets to me, so that's what I'm kind of doing. But Bosse is he's actually the favorite in this fight by first-round KO. However, I just don't see this being a knockout fest. I think these guys both of them are coming into this fight on a loss. Their last bout, they're going to be very cautious. I actually think Bosse gets the win by decision. I think Huna is out of the UFC after this fight. I think his career is down the hill, and it's very unfortunate because he's a very good fighter. Next is Dan Kelly versus Antonio Carlos Jr. Kelly enters this fight on a 1-fight winning streak, and he's 4-1 in his last 5 bouts. He's coming off of a win over Steve McGuntry at UFC Fight Night, or actually UFC 193 by decision. And then Carlos Jr. is 3-1-1 in his last 5. And his last fight with Kevin Casey at UFC Fight Night 80 actually went to a no contest. And Carlos is actually the favorite. And most people think he'll get it by submission, but I think this goes to a decision for Jr. So we shall see. And then the next fight, this is going to be awesome. Johnny Case versus Jake Matthews. Case enters this fight on a 12-fight winning streak. Okay, and he got a couple UFC fights under his belt, so he has that experience. He's coming off of a second-round TKO win at UFC 193. Actually, that's for Matthews. He's coming off of a second-round TKO win at UFC 193, and he's on a 1-fight winning streak, and he's 4-1 his last one. For Case, I should say, Case is 12. He's on a 12-fight winning streak currently, and he is coming off of a decision win over Jan Cabral at UFC Fight Night 73. Very, very close in the betting odds, but I actually go for Johnny Case by decision. Both of them were plus 20s in betting. So a very, very close fight that could go either way. It should be a really, really entertaining fight. I'm really looking forward to it. The co-main event, Hector Lombard returns from his 1-year suspension for his last instance. Basically, he tested positive after his fight with Josh Burtman at UFC 182, which was ruled a no contest. And then Magny is just lighting folks up. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. He's 4-1 his last 5. He's coming off of a win over Calvin Gastelum at UFC Fight Night 78 by split decision. That was a very, very close fight. His other fight before that, he got a split decision against Eric Silva. But while those fights were close, at least in the judges' eyes, I think Magny fully had the advantage in those fights. And I think he'll have the advantage in this one. That's why I want to pick him by decision. It's a tight matchup. Plus 20 for both guys. A lot of people think either Lombard will return pissed off and just firing, or it's done. And I think he's done, and we shall see come Saturday night. And then in the main event of the evening, this is going to be interesting. This could put Mir out of the comeback story, or it could give him another life. And then with Hunt, if he loses, he loses. He comes back. If he wins, then he starts reeling off some wins. Mir comes in on this fight on a 1-fight losing streak. He's 2-3 in his last 5. He's coming off of a decision loss to Andrei Arlovski at UFC 191. Did not look impressive whatsoever. He did really look impressive when he knocked out Todd Duffy by first-round KO at UFC Fight Night 71. If he can just go out there and if he can blitz Hunt does not have very good head movement. He can't really move. All he can do is take shots. If Mir can connect and puts his lights out, which is going to be difficult, he can win this fight. Hunt, he needs to draw this fight out. Everybody gives him crap over his condition, but I think he's training hard these days, really focusing on his condition. And I think he can get it done by decision if he just makes this fight draw out. He currently enters this fight on a 1-fight winning streak. He's 2-1 in his last 5 and is coming off of a first-round KO of Antonio Silva at UFC 193 in November. So while I think Hunt could draw it out, I just don't see Mir losing this fight. I think he comes out. I think he blitzes Hunt. Puts a lot of pressure on him. He gets that first round KO, and his career moves on. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments area below. Thank you very much for listening. RavensNewsPost.com is going to be stacked with coverage, y'all. Make sure you check that out. And as always, enjoy the fights.